And welcome to Tinker Tailor Solar Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian Horner, and I will be your navigator here throughout tonight's proceedings as we attempt and, fingers crossed, succeed on ourselves a little project here. Before we get into any of the actual information about what's going on, we should remind you, of course, that we got Paul in the booth.
Hello.
And we've got, as always, patreon.com in the basement, which we pop up occasionally in this little dumbwaiter, to remind you that you are the reason that we are able to do all of these things here on the channel. We want to give you a big shout out and a big thanks for those of you who are contributors, and for the rest of you, I'm sure you have your reasons, but if you change your mind, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun is where we like to see you go and hang out. Of course, there are other options, twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun, youtube.com/loadingreadyrun, and store.loadingreadyrun.com for all the ways that you can help us out financially. And of course, just, hang out and chat, watch our videos on YouTube, tell your friends. That's the best way.
Shout out to our downstairs neighbors for letting us store the Patreon logo down there when we're not using it.
Yeah, that must be a little weird for them when they get to see that come down.
Ah!
Look, CSS is disrespectful to physical boundaries. Tonight, though, it's the new year, and new year means the mind turns to thoughts of cleanliness and going out with the old and in with the new. And in my case, that's going to be some stuff to do with my controller. A few years back, and I think it was at least 3, maybe 4, I decided I was going to do something nice for myself because I play video games for a living and get myself a professional controller.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Playing video games for a living.
But I thought, bring something, when it's time for AFK, I can bring in my own controller and have my own hand among on it when I need to. At home, I can have, a nice ergonomic thing with some, honestly, the only soft touch plastic that hasn't turned on me yet. On the outside, it seems to be a beautiful controller, the Xbox Elite Series 2. Removable things, tunable stiffness in your sticks, all sorts of fun that can happen. It even got itself back buttons, so you can play with your fingers on the back side.
Oh, neat.
Please do not quote that. But inside,
Of all the things you've said
yes,
on stream, that's the one that you're embarrassed by? That you believe could be misconstrued?
I mean, we all get one, right? But yes, inside these humble controllers hides a dark secret. And for some of us, the secret changes over time. For me, the first one was these back buttons. They just didn't, 2 of them wouldn't click. And luckily, I was just days outside of my warranty expiring, which is to say I was days after it had expired before I finally got up the call to say, hey, Microsoft, can you help with this? And thankfully, they were nice enough to extend my warranty by those extra couple days and send it in and fix those up. However, there is another common problem to these, and it's right here. Or rather, it's deep inside of right here. Specifically, the right bumper button on these things really likes to go bad a lot, and I know that there's even some people in our chat who've had to deal with that particular issue. It's not something they never solved in the lifetime of these being out there in the wild.
It's specifically the right bumper that messes up?
For some reason, it's always the right bumper, which is the problematic one.
Is that just because a right-handed person is pulling harder on that side?
Honestly, I don't think it is. I think there is an inherent design flaw in these controllers because I'll let you know, this is not the first time I've been inside this controller to replace this very button. If you go to the site we're going to go to follow our plan, instructables.com, you will find that specifically it is the right bumper, which is one of the guides for replacement. And I think last time I'm pretty sure I replaced both bumpers. This time, I'm only going to replace the one because, as I said, this has been my second time into this controller, and within a year, you'll find that that button, at least for me, has failed on a regular basis. So we got 2 buttons. We're going to put one inside. And God willing, this will be the last time I have to go in here before something else breaks or it starts to get sticky or something happens, and I can say goodbye to Series 2 and hello to Gul Kit King Kong 2.
Is there is this the current being sold Elite Series, or is there a newer, better one now?
Well, there is a newer version of this. I think it's slightly different colorway.
Series 3.
Yeah, I don't think they went Series 3.
I got what? So wait, as a King Kong is a kind of controller?
Yes, they're a Xbox style controller made by a third-party Asian controller, and they have very good reviews. They made their bones selling replacement sticks for the Nintendo Switch controllers that used.
They do the Hall effect?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Hall effects. Drop-in replacements, and so they've also gone out into other controllers, and yeah, like I keep seeing them show up in our own chat as a recommendation, and so I'm excited to see what they do. Hopefully, in a couple of years, once I've ground down my my supply of Switches. In fact, Paul, we were talking about this before the show that I mean. They are really just 2 switches, so I could and tiny little micro switches. Let's get those on the real close-up cam there. Like, there's not much to them there. They're just momentary switches that are pronged in such a way that they stand upright and in the appropriate size for these kits.
So it's not the actual plastic bumper or anything that's messed up.
Yep.
It's just the switch itself.
The actual mechanical electrical switch. Yeah.
And it's not. Is this switch like just got sort of mung in it, or is it? And it needs to be like it can't. You can't like clean it out. It's just like there's actually something physically deformed in it or something. Yeah.
The first thing, of course, in any situation is I'll try to get out the canned air and see if I can dislodge whatever's in there. But it just these switches have a lifetime, and unfortunately that lifetime, at least in the way that they're engineered into these devices, is about a year on some pretty low level. Like I do not game every day with this controller, and it still gets me like that.
And you're not playing like a real button hammery type game either.
No. And even if I was, it wouldn't. I'm not playing it enough for me to think that it should wear out that quickly.
I remember here in the office, we our main PS3. It would have been our PS3 controllers. Mm-hmm. I think we went through about 2 or 3 stick head head replacements
stick covers,
during the great bloodbordening, where I think there was about 4 of the different streams that were happening. About 4 different streams were playing different versions of Bloodborne. Yeah,
all on one controller, which is the real problem. And there's a lot to like about this controller too. That you can replace the thumbsticks if you need to very easily. There's held on with magnets, and there's comfortable options, but they're replaceable if they wear out.
They aren't Hall effect switches.
I don't believe that they are Hall effect inside, but I do believe they can be swapped out for that. But I haven't had that issue myself yet. But let's swap over to the laptop here for a second, because we'll just go over and have a look at what's actually going on with this stick at the moment. So we can see here that we've got our trigger buttons. Those work no problem there, and we were testing out our sticks beforehand. It's a nifty sight. Hopefully it's not terrible.
It was I think it was actually when we started doing Desert Bus remotely, and we were using the virtual bus.
And we had to be
was
very aware.
when I found out that there are web APIs for controllers on websites, which I had previously noted. So you can do all sorts of fun stuff with it.
As much as I have feelings about their monopoly position, the web serial interface and web gamepad, that sort of stuff being added to the Chrome series of browsers is very cool.
Now,
So
10% error seems high, but maybe that's not.
it hasn't been an issue for me, at least in terms of movement. But I don't play a lot of accuracy, and at least they still also zero down.
And that's, oh, I see. So that's out of circular, I guess, is what that means. That's not like that's not like controller drift or something. That's a different.
I think this area is reporting higher actual values than the top area is.
Right. So it's sort of a you can see that the end result is sort of a round rectangle instead of a perfect circle, but presumably in an actual video game that wouldn't actually make any difference. Like they're probably capping the values in the video game anyway.
Exactly. So for those who are asking, this is hardwaretester.com/gamepad. But the question we're asking is that top right, and you can see it's working now. Oops, now there it goes. Yep. Can I wiggle it? I'm pushing down on it. I'm holding. And there it comes back on. Ooh. And it goes away. On a bit, off again. Yeah, no. And the left one is no problem. Every hit registers with perfect accuracy. So I guess we got nothing more to do than to crack on into this. So I'm going to swap back over to my instructions over at Instructable. Thank you very much, Instructables, for existing for this reason. And I guess, let's. We're going to crack it open.
This is iFixit, eh?
Oh, sorry, yes, iFixit. Why did I say Instructables? Nothing good came from Instructable. Except for their weekly review of interesting projects. Let's get our caps off to start. Make it. We'll turn it off when we get to the battery.
What do the back buttons on the controller?
Oh.
What do they do? They act as shoulder buttons? Do they?
They are fully programmable by the OS, and they just clip in with these little things.
Oh.
So that if you aren't using them for a particular game, or you don't want all of them, you can.
Oh, that is swank.
Magnets. They just hold in with magnets, and then.
Do you use them usually?
Occasionally. I was using them a lot for Elden Ring, actually, because specifically for sprinting.
Yeah, I've down to, I mean, there's a few games that I can think of where I actually had to use like the Steam, sort of forced controller remapping capabilities, because they didn't have controller remapping in the game, just because I can't remember what game it was, but it had something that I used all the time that was mapped to like R3, like pushing in the R button. And I was doing it so much, I was like, I'm actually like, my thumb is getting kind of sore doing this. I really wish this was on a different button. Yeah. Hey, wait, I could actually just change that.
And it's really nice just to hold down that little ring finger to as you approach a boss while also jamming spells and potions at the same time.
Because otherwise those are just wasted fingers.
Yeah. But we got to get into this somehow, and I don't see any screw points. Do you? No, you don't. I'll make this easy for you. There are no screw points accessible from the exterior. To get into these boys, you have to make the bad sounds, which is to say, crack it open with a spudger. So, might as well just get into that. They suggest starting at the upper right-hand corner, and I don't know if I agree or not. I actually think I'm going to come around from one of the bottom edges here where I can squeeze it in. There we go. I just have to get something to pop open that I can get a spudger into. Oof, okay, we're gonna have to use the big boy today. The big boy being the knife. There we go.
Is a crowbar just like a big metal spudger?
Essentially, I'd say, yeah. I mean, I guess the idea of a spudger is you're trying to avoid causing damage to the parts you're taking apart.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think the crowbar cares that much. There we go. Oof. We're going to see all sorts of hand among here, aren't we?
Oof.
Okay. There we go. Oh, good. We're going to be able to get out some broken tabs in here as well from the past.
Oh, man. That is, it's such a like. You could definitely like repurpose that as like some sort of like robot face or something. Like it's got all sorts of interesting detail to it.
What's his name? John Syracuse uses the phrase "naked robotic core," and I feel this really embodies that.
I'm sad that for whatever reason, we've moved away from the time when people were making things out of transparent plastic.
It could come back.
Now, I noticed that it's like blinking and stuff. Should you be taking out the batteries before you do this?
I can't.
Until it's a sealed battery.
This is actually, thank you for reminding me. The second time I came back inside this controller was to replace the battery on it. And that was again, also fairly difficult round.
I have an Xbox, like non-elite, just regular Xbox controller, and I just have it connected over USB. I kind of gave up trying to not only get keep the batteries charged, but also the vagaries of Bluetooth being annoying made me just be like, you know what, I'll just plug it in.
One of the nice things, in addition to the case, this thing also comes with a little plinth that plugs in via USB-C.
Oh, that
It
is
can also
nice.
be plugged in from the outside of the case too. So you can really just leave your case plugged into the wall if need be.
Right, to charge it. Yeah, that's nice.
And in terms of connectivity, I eventually just broke down and bought the way too expensive 2.4 gigahertz official Microsoft connector.
Rather than playing
with Bluetooth all the time.
So the controller works over Bluetooth or over this?
Yeah, over the standard Xbox. We've got one of them in Studio A as well for connecting Xbox 360 controllers.
It's like a weird. It's like a weird proprietary wireless thing.
Yeah, but it's because it's under that 2.4 gigahertz level, they can make it a lot less energy sensitive, or rather energy intensity.
Yeah, and a lot more reliable. Yeah. I had weird. I mean, it's on this show we have talked about Bluetooth on many occasions, but it was I had things with like if I had my Bluetooth mouse and the controller and I tried to use like and then I would have like my Bluetooth headphones, like the mouse pull rate would be way down, so like it would start the mouse would start like jumping on the screen and stuff. I'm like, that seems like it shouldn't happen.
That could be a problem.
But anyway.
For me, it was always the fact that I think the Bluetooth adapter I bought from way too long ago just has an issue with Windows, and every, I want to say 40 minutes, and members of my home stream can attest to this, it just drops connection. Comes back up pretty quickly, but it just does drop connection almost on a regular 40-minute cycle.
Wonder, what happens every 40 minutes? It's like when it rescans the network or something.
Yeah, is Bluetooth low energy rebooting or something? Okay, we need to now separate the front from the back, and we're going to do that by.
Wait, didn't you already do that? Or that was the faceplate from.
Yeah. We're going to do that by removing some screws and a couple of tabs. The screws are here, and under here, or here would have been a warranty sticker. I wonder where that went. Or rather, to quote that Garfield post, I wonder who that's for. But again, you're going to need... Or not even again, I haven't even mentioned. You're going to need security Torx drivers for this. Because they've got the little dot in them. Thankfully, in the days of the Amazon delivery company, those are a lot easier to find. And in fact, that's where I got these buttons from, because that's the easiest place to find ones that are specifically, without knowing the model number of these and where they come from. That was what I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking about parts. Because you were asking, is Microsoft not one of those companies that did the?
They have
parts?
at least attempted to.
Yeah.
say like, oh, hey, here's the parts for something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the definitions of what is a part, I think, are different from myself and Microsoft. This is a part. What they're willing to sell me, we'll show you in a second when we get to it. And it's absolutely not a $16 or $8. I cannot remember. More than it should be for just buttons too, but
It's yeah.
it is a lot cheaper than buying another controller, especially with the cost of controllers these days.
Now, I mean, especially if it's these fancy Elite controller. But now, when this thing is, working in the way it's supposed to, is this sort of ergonomically? Is this a controller that you really like?
No.
No?
It's exactly the same as an Xbox controller. It has nice feel to it, but this is again not to send people outside of our network, but John Syracuse, a guy who used to do a lot of used to do the reviews of Mac OS for Ars Technica, has his podcast, a couple of podcasts. The one I'm referring to is now a little bit defunct, called Hypercritical. And he did a long 2-hour tirade on controllers specifically. And I learned a lot about why it is that I like certain controllers and what issues I have. And the biggest one I have, and I understand exactly where he's coming from because he has RSI. So he knows that anytime he sits down to play a controller, that's time off his gaming life. And he wants them in the most ergonomic position possible. And no controller is in an ergonomic position. With the Xbox, if we go top down, here's the problem with the Xbox is that you have usually in games, you have your thumbs on the sticks. Yes, I know you have face button to push buttons, but usually, 90% of the time, your hands are on those two sticks, especially for shooters, which is what he plays a lot of. On the Xbox, you'll note that your thumbs are in weird different positions, neither of which is the natural position for your thumb. Well, the left kind of is. The PlayStation does a much better idea of making it universal in the same position, except in the wrong position where you're putting extra stress on your thumbs to bring them down here. What we really both want is a controller that has our thumbsticks up here, both of them, and then our buttons down here. And that means a lot more in terms of...
Are there any controllers like that?
None.
Like any even third-party ones?
Certainly no first-party ones. And the only third-party one that I know of that can accept that configuration was an old Thrustmaster wired controller where you physically could pick the entire assembly out of one of the 4 positions and move it into a different position to click.
So, yeah. Something that I have found out over the course of playing video games over the last little while, and from what I can gather from looking up things online is kind of unusual, is that I have realized that the Switch Joy-Cons attached to the attached together in their sort of default configuration. I find to be the most comfortable. I will literally find that because like I said, I have an Xbox controller that I use to game on my PC, and I'll start to get kind of cramped in the hands after a while, and then I'll switch over to playing a different game on the Switch, and it'll just completely go away. The sort of hand cramps and stuff, and I say that I feel like I'm somewhat unusual in this respect because I was like, I actually want a PC controller that has the same ergonomics as the Joy-Cons.
As the full Switch
as
with
the full
yeah.
And I'm not talking the Switch Pro controller, I'm talking the 2 Joy-Cons connected,
Switch.
And that does not appear to be available and mostly if you look that up, everyone's complaining about the ergonomics of the Switch thing. So I don't know, I'm weird that way. But
Paul, if I may, maybe you should be looking at some of those controllers that are built specifically for mobile gaming or for tablets.
And yeah, maybe.
And then just not put the tablet in it and connect it via Bluetooth to your PC.
I mean, it's not that wide apart, right? But I mean, the Switch ones are cool too because if you're if you want to, you can even disconnect them completely, and then you
Yes.
can just have two hands complete. You're not in that sort of hand together position.
That was probably one of the more. I find the Switch controllers to be a bit too small to reach all the buttons in my hands. But let me tell you, playing No More Heroes while lying back on the couch with my hands just at my sides was
Yeah, and
prime experience.
as some folks say, that technically the Joy-Cons can be connected to the PC, and there's even stuff to make it so that the two Joy-Cons operate as one controller. But, it's not good.
There's a lot to be said for convenience,
and,
especially when you're playing, especially when you're doing recreation.
And as we've already talked about the vagaries of Bluetooth.
Yep.
And this is, and to be honest, that's like 90% of what I love about the gaming on the Switch. Just sort of my preferred thing now is that, you can go from, just sitting down to in the game in, 10 seconds.
Yeah, no time at all.
Whereas as a longtime PC gamer, I'm used to, turn on the computer, boot up the game, wait for a bit, mess around with stuff, get the controller working. Okay, go into the game, watch the loading screen for a while.
That's why I went with the Xbox over. I could have bought myself a brand new PS4 or PS3 controller at the time. The PS4 was not out yet. And the various OSs of the world hadn't yet decided that, yes, we are going to accept video game controllers as first-party controllers.
Right.
Whereas the Xbox was still a first-party controller as far as Microsoft was concerned on their platform. And what I'm doing now with the living room PC is just leaving it in a sleep state, and realize that with the 2.4 gigahertz controller option or for wireless, I can just wake up the PC by pushing the Xbox button.
Oh, nice.
And so it becomes very much like a console situation if you just leave it in the Steam big picture or whatnot.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I wish Steam sort of put more behind, big picture mode is so handy, but it seems like one of those things that Steam kind of did like 5 years ago and then hasn't looked at again.
Have you tried it within the past year? Since they
Maybe not.
Since they started doing the Steam Deck, it's really become a much better experience. They've really removed a lot of the herky jerkiness of it that it had before. But I want to make a point here though before we move on this assembly. So, would you like to know? We can see what we're going to replace right now. It's right there. This little guy right here is our.
Oh, okay.
That's the button we're going to be replacing. We can't access it from here.
Oh no.
So that we need to go deeper.
We can see it. It just taunts us.
Yep. So we're going to now pop off the. Remove the 6 Torx screws. We got all those out. And now we insert a spudger under the vibration motor to provide a little leverage to separate the front from the back sides. Ah, yes. So we need to get this little front plate off first.
As a side note, I'm not I know that they're trying to be all cool and sleek, but I'm not a big fan of them taking away the color on the face buttons.
Yeah.
That is often used in video games to identify them, but the buttons.
Agree.
Both the letter and the color.
Accessibility matters. Okay. Does that come all the way off? I think it does. Hate the sound of plastic when it does all this. There we go. Yes, I just need to separate it a bit and pull it out. Oop, but not. There we go. So let's just have a look here. This is our back housing now.
Man.
Which has, I guess, some weights to it underneath the, and springs to keep the.
It literally has weights in it?
Yeah, right here we got a little weight for weight purposes. And I think underneath these screw portions here too. Oh no, these are these just modulate how far the sticks are allowed to go back and forth.
You can set that from outside the.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then down here, that's your battery. We don't need to go inside there today, so we're not going to.
It's still, you had to replace it at one point because it wasn't holding a charge anymore. Right?
Exactly, yeah. Here we go. More naked robotic core nonsense. And now we can come to the back here and actually kind of pull off that faceplate. There we go. Get that out. And yeah, they got this little honey badger on here, I guess, because
Well, yeah, that is a honey badger.
Microsoft don't care about build quality. I kid, mostly. All right, so we've got that there. Now, there's a bit more that we need to remove. We need to lift this piece here and disconnect our two little,
Oh, those are the scary ones.
Yep. I like to use a very fine slotted blade for that.
Now, I'm just thinking about past controller mods or controller fixes that you've done here on Tinker Tailor. The one I remember more distinctly was I think it was a PS3 controller that you swapped it to a USB-C rather than a
PS4, in fact.
PS4 controller,
Yep.
right? Rather than a USB micro or whatever it was.
Yes.
How did that end up working out?
Those are still going strong. They're going strong, except for the battery itself inside them, which is the problem.
So,
Yeah, so that was an issue. All right, we got our antennas disconnected. The next thing they suggest to do is to desolder the rotational the motors for the vibration. I have not done that before. I guess we could do it, but I'm not going to because it's real fiddly. They're small, and if we don't need to do that, then why?
yeah, the idea that you have to actually desolder something in order to get to something else seems a little backwards.
Yeah, I think that's why they
This
only
is
sell
not-
components.
Yeah, not user serviceable.
No, yeah, not unless you're willing to go deep. Okay, so now that we've got that off, yes, we have two more Torx screws that are going to need removal, and they are even smaller.
I'm imagining in some market in like Shenzhen, place where you just like take your Xbox controller and some guy will have like 5 different extremely precisely made tools just for this job and just be like
Oh yeah, they've got
and
their
just like take it apart and put it back together in like 2 minutes.
they've got their tin of molten lead there, ready to solder wire or ready to tin wires immediately. Yeah, I've been watching some videos on other repairs. Currently, I need to. Well, there's Corey's drawing tablet is from a generation of Wacoms that were also badly designed, such that you would always be putting pressure on the USB-B port.
Oh.
And so that port has completely separated from the USB Mini. That's right, not even micro. But I've been looking into ways to repair that and resolder it, and there is definitely a method to the madness.
Could you swap? I mean, if you're going to repair it anyway, could you swap that to a USB-C as well if you wanted to?
I don't think so, just because it is a custom. A custom, well, not necessarily custom, but not a normal port. Again, one of the reasons why the PS4 swaps worked is that someone put the effort into going and getting custom circuit boards made with
right.
the
It's not
things on them.
it's not just the actual port itself.
Yeah.
You have to have the adapter board. Yeah, right.
You got to
right.
interface it. And, okay, let's make sure we're doing the right stuff here. So we've removed that. Removed the screws. We're not desoldering. We're just going to sliding it up along its pins, which are here, and that's it. Oh, and down here. So move it up as long as it's... There we go. Just need a bit of unpluggables. Ooh, and to remove these two, move those antenna connectors away from the motherboard so they don't catch. That was the problem. Okay.
Yeah, they are. I feel like, you know, if you look at like an old, you know, like a Sega CD controller or a Nintendo controller, it's just basically like a circuit board with a couple wires and a lot of empty space.
Right.
Whereas these guys, they just stuff it full. It's just entirely filled. It's got like 4 layers of PCBs in there.
Yep. And each PCB is how many layers thick? Come on. You want to get out. I know you do. But why are you not? What's wrong here?
So this is you could see the button before, but this allows you need to basically access it from like the other side. Eh?
Yeah, because it's a through hole solder.
Right.
So it's you got to get both sides of it. Okay, come on. Come on. It's like a little bit of a puzzle. Gotta get... Aha, there we go. Whew. Okay, and now I'm just going to hold this up out of the way. Wait a second, where do those go? Ah, right, these gray wires, those snake up along the edge of the controller to the triggers here, because there's tiny motors in the triggers.
Really?
For the force feedback.
Oh, right, of course.
Yep. Okay, but I think we can get this out of here now. Yeah, okay, the triggers will flex up a bit. That's what we want. Once the motherboard has been removed, you may already notice that the headphone jack has moved or fallen. If it hasn't, remove it from the board now. Well, it's down here, underneath. You can see it. Let's just take it out. It looks like it's wrong, but that's the way it's supposed to be. Headphones.
It's always good. Looks like it's wrong, but that's good.
Yeah. Don't worry. It looks that way. Don't worry though. Okay. Thankfully, we've got the same size screws to bring out this daughter board. Whoop. And another one over here. Oh, there's 4 of them. Horrifying. Yeah, the amount of design work necessary to get everything to line up in these is what boggles my mind too. Because you've got this hole here, which is the hole through which the bottom stick pokes through, and you've got one button that attaches to this motherboard, and then the other buttons attach to the top board. It's kind of bizarre. But let's click that and unscrew, and we are up. Now, can I just lift you out without too much effort? Are we done? Yes, I think we are. I think this just comes out now. Or am I? Let's have a look. More patience. Right, we move the bump. Now we remove the bumper bar. So very carefully turn it over. And, oh boy, everything's falling apart. How do I do that? That goes over there, that goes over there. Oh, I think we'd already removed that particular bar. That's fine. next step. Thank you. Two tabs holding on the retainer for the bar in place. So we want to pop this up. Oh God. This is the one that's always been the hard one for me. So you want to pop it up like this, I guess. Yep, that's how it goes. Boop.
Uh-oh.
And the whole thing just,
That was a load-bearing switch.
Yep. So there
that
we
was
go.
like the keystone. Wow.
There we go. That's there's your buttons, as you can see. The circle button goes to a different one, and the others are on this one pad.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
So the circle button actually, I guess it doesn't actually descend further. The button is longer so that it has the same.
And unfortunately, if you had other problems like sticky A buttons or B buttons, this is the, you'd still have to go this deeply to fix it, to get the buttons out. Thankfully, that's not a problem I think I have, so.
Are there any like cool open source, I don't know, open source, but like cool maker-friendly controllers that are like, just like attached together with screws, and you just kind of.
I don't know how, if there are any that are
I'm
that
sure
easy to deal with.
I'm sure there are some kind of janky ones, but I'm wondering about one like something that actually has like, good ergonomics and stuff too. Isn't just like a bunch of sort of
Something we could actually, promote. All right, let's just move that assembly over there.
because obviously, as we have shown on this channel on this stream before, anything can be a controller if you really want it to be.
Very true. Okay, here is the nasty boy. If we were living in a fair world, they'd all have this sort of tactile clicky click directly on it. It's just a metal dome clicking down onto a.
I mean, it's sort of fascinating that, there are, all of the things in a controller. There's buttons and there's sticks. But basically all of the buttons and all the different things use a slightly like it's not just like 10 switches. It's like each one has a slightly different type of switch that is sort of optimized for that particular thing.
Mm-hmm. A specific button. So you got different smaller buttons in there. At least our pads are clean. That's not going to be a problem for us. But you can see, I think, where, or maybe, there we are. You can see where I made the change last time from the soldering burn marks.
All right, well, let's add to that, I guess.
Yes, we will. Yeah, definitely not replacing button the left because it doesn't need to, and I remember how terrible this was to get into in the first place. The ugliness of the solder joints will also indicate how bad this was. It's apparently they sometimes use soldering paste that can go up to 400 degrees Celsius in order to melt. Thankfully, I've replaced it with some of my own, so it won't be quite as high, but still not going to be a quick and easy job. Though what I am going to do is just get out the third hand. Well, maybe. All right, you can see that side. I'm just going to grab a roll of gaff tape here. So this is probably going to have to be my next research purchase, is some form of a vise to hold projects in as I...
Something more robust than just the third hand, the sort of little clips from the third hand.
Yeah, because the third hand clips can be very... well, they're not big enough for all the projects I work on.
Say something more robust than the third hand, but less robust than the big cast iron vise that you.
Yeah. So what I suggest is actually clipping the button off first. I'm going to try first sucking the solder out, as I have a good tool for that.
Now, I am concerned. Is this going to involve the heat gun?
Not today.
Okay.
No, this time we've got I watched some YouTube videos over the holiday period and discovered that I needed this. It's a solder sucker with a really good silicone tip on it that gives you a run of extra silicone tubing.
Ooh.
That you can then put on.
Which that gives it makes it seal against the.
Yeah, and it should be good up to 350 or so, unlike other solder suckers which just have a Teflon tip.
Ooh.
So this allows you to get right in there and just go ahead and suck. This is its debut.
That sounds like maybe a bird that would be in Wingspan or something, like the silicon tipped solder sucker.
Yep. Hey, if any of our enterprising chat members want to make a new card, go nuts.
Although if it's going to be in the digital version, they have to come up with a call for the silicon tipped solder sucker.
You'll get one soon. Okay, yeah, it's starting to. You can hear it now, the squeakiness. Don't think we were quite done there yet.
So it's just like a little the solder sucker is just like a little. It sort of pulls a vacuum really quickly.
Exactly. And what's nice about this one is that it has that silicone tip, so you can potentially get a seal and get a lot more solder than you would normally. I should have brought my magnifying glasses. Tell you what, I am going to pull the third hand out of the cabinet here, just for magnification. I just have to remember which of these drawers I left it in. Oh no. The theremin is loose.
Oh no! The theremin is loose.
Paul, I just realized we have one of the exact kind of controller you're looking for, in terms of a maker-friendly controller that's easy to.
That is exactly what.
Easy to know.
I mean, if you only want 2 buttons.
You can add more.
It's like a replacement for a Nintendo controller.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah, when you just need just a little bit of control. Okay.
Who needs more zoom lens on the camera? We just need. There we go. Ha! Perfect.
Oh, great. Good for you. All right. This magnifying glass is extremely weighty, so. Okay. I'm not covering anything, am I, from this position?
Nope.
Great. Now I can actually see what's going on down here. Aha. Yes, yes. Get warm. And get removed. Ooh. Okay. I think we might want to start with the braid on this, to be honest. Let's try this other guy here. Ugh. Oh God, the solder is just like, it's like paste itself. So it's, ugh, just popped. So we're making progress.
So these are your solder. These are
Joints
your
from
solder
last
joints,
yeah.
right?
So I've got no one to blame here but myself at this point. But it is starting to come off, and that's good. I wonder if any flex might be of use here.
I guess there isn't an option to get like better or like more more sturdy little switches so that you don't have to do this again.
That was my hope, because these were meant to these were suggested to be long life switches. That
They're
are
sort of better than the built-in ones.
yeah, used specifically in other Xbox controllers that don't have this problem too. Supposedly.
Except you already used one of them here and it did have the problem.
Which leads me to believe that the problem is not necessarily with the switches, but with the Xbox controller itself.
Or something, or like how the plastic bit actually interacts with the switch or something.
Yeah.
Because like the issue is not electronic. It's like physical, right? It's like the button itself has something is like deformed in it or something.
And it's not making its contacts
right
reliably. I've also been getting a lot better at using these soldering braids, so.
And now the idea with the soldering braid is it's just provides a lot of surface area that the solder is more inclined to attach to rather than the pin, right?
Exactly. Okay, I think I'm about ready to just pop. Well, we need to do these other two connectors here, and then we can go ahead and pop with the clips. Ooh, this one, yeah, this is a big blobby boy. Let's get in there with the sucker first. There we go. And keep it nice and warm. And blobby blue. Oh, wow, that worked a treat.
Nice.
It's hard for me to show you any more than what I've got there, but maybe we'll find. Oh, wow. I mean, that tells you a lot about how much solder we've sucked out of these holes right here.
Really? That's from the solder. That's all the stuff from the solder side?
That's all stuff that got pushed out by the little pushy end on the thing.
Holy crap.
I'm already impressed by this machine. Okay, and blobby blue. I don't know why I'm making Mr. Blobby sounds when I'm. Let's just see if we can clean up this other one here too while we're at it. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that for that side. Let's
It's a very satisfying noise.
clean off your tip always. And let's flip her over. And brush away some of the debris. All right. Gonna clip from the bottom. Goodbye. 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 And goodbye. Okay, now let's apply a bit of...
Now, considering that you're replacing this part completely, couldn't you just clip the whole part off?
Yes, but we need to make sure that the holes are empty.
Right.
And that's a little easier to do when you've got a...
It needs to and wherever it's supposed to contact, it needs to stay the...
So I'm going to try and wedge or lever it off now a bit with this piece of equipment. Ah! And actually, I think I am going to throw down a little bit of flux just to keep the heat going easier. Oh no, this is a terrible bottle of flux that's already broken.
It's interesting that some folks in the chat were saying that like not only is this a known issue for this controller, but like shoulder buttons on Xbox controllers is sort of like a known problem. Like
for everyone?
back to like 360 days.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
But it's sort of an interesting idea that like that it isn't that like, you know, this particular design has some flaw in it, that there's some sort of institutional oversight that it's like, this is how you make a shoulder button, and that somehow that's wrong. Or, you know, their sort of standard system for making shoulder buttons that they've used for not only all their controllers for the Xbox, you know, series, or for the new, but they've used the same system for several generations.
And they've never
It's
fixed
sort
it.
of inherently wrong.
Yeah.
And rather than, and because they're sort of reusing the same technology one generation after another, they never actually ended up fixing it. And you would think, considering shoulder buttons are something that are not only have been using for, you know, 15, 20 years, but all of the console manufacturers use them. It's not like that's a unique, special Xbox innovation.
If you want buttons on your shoulders, you need to put something up there.
You would think they would be like, okay, let's just buy a PS3 controller and see. And then they open it up and like, oh, that's a way better way of doing it. Well, we should do that. or whatever.
Yeah, I'm also curious as to, you know, why they don't use a different type of physicality for the button, like maybe a what do you call those things? Opticoders.
Then again, you know, there is the thing where people you know get used to what they like, and so you change it so that it is a sort of objectively better system, and people are like, no, it doesn't feel right anymore.
I mean, you can always add the you know what I would love them to do is I'd love them to add an opticoder. So you just push the shoulder button down, and a little piece of plastic gets in the way of something optical, and then also add that electrical button, but only for the tactile feeling of it. But anyway, we've got it out. Look at that. Terrible. Hate it. You're the worst.
Now, even now that it's out, like if you push it now that it's out, can you sort of feel that it is not working properly?
It feels normal. Do I have my probes? I think I might have the right probes. Yes, I do. Great. So let's have some fun with it. Let's see just how reliable it is based on the multimeter's continuity tester.
So it's not that like the actual physical button doesn't click anymore. It's that there's like the contact on the inside is somehow not making contact when it should be.
And either that's because it's being pushed at an incorrect angle constantly, or something's wearing out on the inside that's causing it to block the connection. But I just don't know. But here we go. We got that connected. Give me that. Is it the front to back? It is front to back. Oop. Or is it front to front? Or is it that broken of a button? I think it's just that broken of a button, to be honest. So now it's just giving me completely nothing but, oh, those are, yeah, it's front to front.
I mean, you could check, I guess you could check it in comparison to one of your new buttons.
There we go. So it seems to be working here, but this is also not the way I play video games.
No, you only use a controller like that if you're. That's like how you use the if you're playing with like on a Switch with like using the Joy-Con as one controller. That's that's the only situation where you have buttons that small.
I kept pushing the button there too, by the way, because the last reading I saw on the multimeter during that was 1337, and I was trying to see if I could get that back to. It's like, hey, it's Elite controller. Okay. So, at this point, we're mostly clean. We just need one of these that I'm going to hit with some more of the solder sucker again.
Just to clean out the through holes, eh?
Yeah, because these Xbox buttons need to be added with a certain amount of force to them, so to be pushed through the hole.
It's an excellent engineering term.
You know what?
A certain amount of force. That's the equivalent of like in baking when it says like, add salt to taste.
Yeah.
Use a certain amount of force. And like, anybody who has some experience in the in the sort of electronics field knows kind of what you mean when you say a certain amount of force.
Yeah.
But it is a very non-descriptive term.
Very. This is where that advice would be really useful, is trying to hold the solder sucker such that I can push the button on it and allow the button to retract. Okay, seems like that's good. Through hole solder. Well, it did go through the hole. But that also went through the hole. So I think we're clean.
You'd like a big, like a robotic arm or something that can be like, hold it just
so. You know what I need to put in this cabinet that I haven't put here yet, and I'm pretty sure we don't have anywhere else in the moon base, is some Q-tips for making the making things cleaner. Ah, that's why the bag is failing. There's no bottom.
I would argue that is not a bottomless bag, or that is not a bag. That is just a tube.
Yeah,
A
at
bag
that
with
point,
no
yeah.
bottom.
Not wrong. Not wrong at all. Let's see. Do I have any?
That was one of my favorite gags from the recent the Time Bandits TV show on Apple TV. Which was very entertaining. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like a kid's show, but it was very entertaining.
Oh, it was enjoyable.
And throughout the thing, the Lisa Kudrow's sort of main character keeps giving things to a guy to put in his bottomless pouch. And then she's like, "Hey, give me that thing that I gave you back." And he's like, "It fell out." It's like, "What? I thought you put it in the bottomless pouch." I did. I don't know why you kept telling me to put things in there. They keep falling out. It's not a magical bottomless pouch. No, it's just
bottomless.
It just doesn't have any bottom.
All right. Just wanted to clean some of the excess flux off there, just so we can see what we're see better what we're doing. That is a pinhole, so it should be fine. All right. So let's see about just fitting that button. And then we'll see about soldering it in. monstrous little carbuncles. Okay. Now, have I cleaned the holes out enough? Survey says maybe. Let's keep pushing. Oh, wait, there's one foot through. There's all the feet through.
Yay.
That's, yeah.
Although I gotta say, I feel like that is not a question that you should be asking like on a survey.
Good point.
That's not a matter of opinion. That's like a matter of actual fact.
Just, yep. Let's go back to camera 5 for just a second here. And just, yeah, there we go. You can see in place. Looks like the other one, just slightly cleaner. What I'm going to suggest then here, before we get down and do the solder back in and the reassembly, why don't we take ourselves a short break, where we can get up, stretch our legs, swap our fluids, and get ready for the reassembly of the Xbox Elite 2 controller here on Tinker Tailor Solder Fry. Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network, where we have been taking apart an Xbox not an Xbox 360, an Xbox Elite 2 controller, right down to removing a button. And we've successfully done it, which means now we have to solder that button down and then put it all back together again. Hooray.
We're at the point, like, you know, when you're like cleaning your room and it's like messier than when you started.
Yep.
But it's like, no, believe in the process. Yep. This will end up being a fixed controller.
Actually, one of my favorite things too about the iFixit guides is that oftentimes you get to the end of the instructions for a guide, and then the final instruction is follow these instructions in reverse in order to reassemble your device. I'm like, yep, of course. Scroll up. Why make it more difficult? Okay, what we're going to do here for solder is I'm going to try something new, because as I said earlier, I have to fix Corey's thing. What do you call that? Drawing tablet. And so I bought some stuff to have fun with that, to make it easier on myself, including some no-clean solder paste. And important because it's...
Is that just dirty? No clean?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Damn. But importantly, this can be used with hot air machines because of its low melting temperature at 138 degrees Celsius. So I don't need to be all the way up at 500 on my soldering iron.
Ooh.
So we're going to give that a try for my first time using this, and then that way I'll be experienced for when I have to use it later. What I won't be using is the rosin flux paste. I don't think we need to use that today. We can get by with the brush-on stuff. But I have it for future projects. So
what's the disadvantage of a low temperature solder like that? Is it less? Does it last? Doesn't last as long?
I think that might be the reason. I've never heard of a bad reason to use low temperature solder, but it might just be that it's also high heat applications. High heat applications.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you're using it somewhere where it's going to be inherently getting hot, but like, sure, you have some, a sweaty session of gaming, but it's not going to be over 100 degrees.
No, but you can absolutely get yourself into situations where you do want to use something where something is going to be more than 138 degrees Celsius.
But the fact that it sort of liquefies at 138, will it be soft at lower temperatures?
It'll probably be soft, but you're still going to have a good bond. Maybe I do want to use the high temperature solder on that. You know what? It didn't work out for me last time, so
I want to be clear. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying things.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that I'm wrong.
I'm trying to suss things out here too myself. And thankfully, we've got some people in the chat who are knowledgeable and be able to look things up sometimes. Arclight Dynamo says Google says low temperature solders are more brittle, and that seems counterintuitive, but makes sense. And then I guess it's more ductile at high temp. Anyway, there's our reason, I guess. If you are going to be putting solder in a high stress situation, which I guess is what a button would be, maybe you'd want a higher temperature solder. That said, what is my temperature for this? I use this solder at very high temperatures. 183 Celsius. Well, that's, you know what? That's not as high as I thought it would be.
Isn't that the same as the other one?
183 versus 138 on the paste.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure the Hakko is in Fahrenheit. So let's bring that down to, what's 138 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit? 280. Okay, so let's give this a try at 300 then. And is there something I can test it on too? That'd be nifty. Nope. Okay. All right, so we got to add one of these little tips here to it. Are these actual? Oh, these are tiny tips that you can attach and cut down to, I guess, the size you want, and it also comes with these little metal tips. Well, let's give a metal boy a try.
Is this tips for the solder applicator?
Yes. Wonderway. This is giving me real, what do you call it? Thermal paste vibes. Although, I guess technically this is, in its own way, a type of thermal paste, so.
So this is rather than like a spool of solder that you're melting with the, while they're sort of holding and melting, this is an actual like sort of solder that you just sort of dispense it onto the place that you're going to do it.
This seems to be what all the cool kids are using online these days. But it means it's a little bit easier to make these connections because you can just add the solder paste directly to the area you want to go to.
So I guess that's like, so it's like the whatever the solder material is, the lead or the whatever, is like suspended in some kind of
I'd say a flux medium.
Yeah, some sort of medium that allows it to be, and then when you put the soldering iron to it, whatever that medium is evaporates or whatever, and leaves you with just the metal.
But it means you can be very judicious with how much paste or how much solder you're using too. Okay, that seems good. Let's see how that do. 500, no, we need 300 is what we wanted. Just wait for that temperature to come down just a bit from 500.
Whoops.
Arclight says low temp solders are brittle because they're made with bismuth. I like bismuth.
What are high temperature solders made out of?
Tin and lead. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure there's amounts of tin and lead in the low temperature solder too, but
Well, and there's like lead-free solder and stuff, right?
yeah, and lead-free solder I know is generally a very high temperature solder. I think probably because the lead is a lower temperature melting metal than tin is.
I remember seeing, this was actually not that long ago, just a year or two ago, or maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I saw a little news report thing talking about Steve Wozniak, the great Steve Wozniak, who obviously is, was an incredible hardware hacker.
Oh yeah.
And some of the B-roll of him was doing the traditional soldering move, which is the holding with one hand, soldering iron in the other hand, and solder in the mouth.
Yep.
Which obviously, if you're using lead solder, is probably not the greatest idea.
You may, yeah, well, yeah. just don't swallow, I guess. I would honestly, at this point, be willing to call Steve Wozniak probably the GOAT.
Yeah. Well, certainly, I mean, yeah, his hardware hacking chops are legendary. I don't know, and then I don't know what he's up to these days. But then he went on and just became like a math teacher or something. And
yeah, I recall it wasn't glamorous, but it was definitely him.
And then, and also is just ridiculously, incredibly rich.
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
because he's got a bunch of Apple stock.
Deservingly? Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Also, my other favorite thing about is that he, for a while anyway, he would buy uncut sheets of $50 bills or $20 bills from the mint and then get them perforated.
That's still one of my favorite stories about him.
And then he could just tear off sheets or tear off totally legal tender $20 bills to give to people.
300 is not working for us. Let's just, you know what?
So that's when it says the solder is 100. What did you say? 138 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's not the temperature that the soldering iron needs to be at.
This is something I've had troubles figuring out, is how hot my soldering iron needs to be for any of these solders. So I'm starting to get bubbles, which looks correct.
It'd be handy if it was
Oh, there we go.
It would be handy if there was the solder was 138 and then brackets 250 or something, bracket the temperature of your soldering iron should be.
Well, I think you can go with a lower temperature soldering iron. You just need to be more patient about how much time it takes for it to heat up.
That doesn't sound like something we want to do.
Not something for us, no. But
just ignore that slightly discolored black part of the motherboard.
Well, that to me, I mean, it all looks good. There are joints.
I mean, it is nice, talking about that whole holding the solder in your teeth thing with that solder paste. You just put it on, and then you don't need that third hand.
Mm-hmm. Which is, definitely appealing. I just hope that was a good enough join. I mean, what I will do is I will test it by pushing it around a bit from the top. And we'll see then if that's okay. Let's dab it up there a bit, though, just to see if we can remove some of the excess flux. Ugh, that's ugly. Shop towels are not a Q-tip. But they'll do the job. Let's do a quick continuity test to make sure that I'm not crossing any streams, because that would be... Well, first of all, that's Mondays, usually, here at the Mighty Loading Radio and Video Entertainment Network. I believe starting up next Monday, correct?
Not next Monday. It's going to be a final Q&A session, a live Q&A session with the Not a Drop to Drink folks. And then the next week, we'll be switching back over to the Crossing the Streams.
Yeah. Okay, well, the ground is working, and the switch itself is also, let's click it. It's working. It appears to have space. It is not coming out when I push on it relatively hard. Harder than I would push on it with my own finger. So that's the important thing. I think we're good to start the reassembly process, which is now going to be the difficult process, because we have all these parts everywhere now, don't we? Oh, and then of course we'll have to do the actual testing once it gets all buttoned up. Well, before we button it up. I've learned that the hard way a couple of times.
Right. So yeah, how far do you have to put it together before you can actually test it? Obviously, you can't test it like this.
Yeah, it's going to need to be at the point where all the little feely bits are touching each other in the way that they're supposed to touch each other.
I mean, so this actually has this is the board that's got the USB port on it. Like, what would happen if you actually plugged it in right now? Would it see it as a board that only has 2 buttons?
That's a good question.
Or would it be like it's an Xbox controller, but a bunch of the buttons don't work?
You know what? For the Vine, I'm willing to find out. Computer says.
I guess the battery isn't plugged in, but but you're getting power over the USB, I guess.
Yeah, no, it is not. It is not a live machine at this stage.
Okay.
That was worth a try. That was fun. All right. Sorry, I just saw your comment about a blunt knife, and that's what we've got this here for. Probably my most beat up spudger, but it does the job. Okay, so removing the bumper bar was the next to last part, if I recall. So I think what we need to do is actually just get this entire piece here reassembled with the overcase and motherboard, which is going to take some juggling. Okay, so let's get the buttons in place first. So the B button is the longest. I'm really impressed with them. They're all keyed in different manners, so that you can't put the wrong button in the wrong hole. If you look at the edges of those buttons there, X has got one on at I think 7 o'clock, and what I'd say is 2 o'clock and 12 o'clock. Y's got a big one at 9, from 9 to 11, and then at 3. And A has 5, 9, and 1.
I like that that is a, considering how sort of hostile to
Yes.
taking apart this thing is in other ways. It's interesting that it has that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I guess it's because you kind of have to assemble them from the bottom. So if you don't, if you don't remember, if you're not a gamer like me and you remember what the buttons are, it probably helps to make sure that you can't put them into the wrong hole. Ooh. Just reading Demon Fire's comment, counterintuitively, lower temperature soldering irons can increase risk of burning out components because getting the part you want up to temperature slowly gives it more time for the heat to dissipate to the places you don't want it to be. That actually makes a lot of sense.
That was sort of what I was saying about the blunt knife and a sharp knife, sort of the metaphor I was thinking about. Like, it's the sort of trying to do something in what seems like a less dangerous way, and it's actually because the whole thing is sort of slower and less controlled. It actually can be more dangerous.
I mean, Frank Herbert warned us years ago: the slow knife penetrates the blade, the shield. In this case, the shield being your skin. But hey, when I said there were weights in here, I was wrong. I forgot these two things. These little bars here are not weights. Those are, in fact, magnets. Oh. And that's so that you can attach those levers from the back.
Oh, right,
as I was
of course.
talking about before. But also, I remembered seeing them here on the back side of the D-pad. because the D-pad also uses magnets to clamp its topper to itself.
Right, because you can have, there's like different types of D-pads. There's like ones,
Yeah.
because is this the controller that can have like a disconnected D-pad or a?
No, but the two options you get are the flat shield or the cross.
Oh.
Thank you for allowing patents to expire.
I thought there was, it's interesting that it doesn't have a you'd think it would have a disconnect, like a one where the buttons are separate.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess you get the cross, which is as close as you can get, but.
Yeah.
And I think the cross is what people want. It's just that it was that Nintendo patent keeping people from having that. All right. Now here's the question: which side does the hole go on for this rubber mat thing? Impossible to say.
Which side the hole go on to?
There's this rubber grommet that gets in the way here that does the actual pressing. And I think that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that the plastic is down below. Or does it? Oh, yes, it does. Just looking at the how this is recessed here now, that tells me that, yeah, that plastic goes down below. And this button is a tactile button, which activates the different profiles, which means it can be paired with multiple different systems at once.
Assuming you're not doing it over the Xbox thing.
Oh no, that does matter too, actually.
Oh really?
Yeah. Because when you boot it up, it'll try to go into the last system it was. And so if I'm over in my office, I'll double tap the top button and that'll send me over into Bluetooth mode and it'll automatically pair with my computer. But if I take it over to the living room and just push the button, it'll just sit there waiting until I double tap that top button and it says, oh, I'm now in 2.4 mode. Let's pair.
But so what if you have like like if you've got like an actual Xbox or if you've got two 2.4 dongle things.
Oh, if you got two 2.4 dongle things, I'm not sure how that would work. I think you might still have the option to pair between two different.
But that button primarily switches it between Bluetooth and 2.4 mode.
No, this one in the middle is for controller profile modes, which is what you use to decide your settings on your sticks. You know how responsive they are, but also the button layout and the button layout for the back.
Oh, that's neat. So the button, doing that's actually controlled at the controller level rather than relying on the
exactly. Yeah.
Rather relying on the game. That's handy.
So you could have one mode for Destiny with the back buttons a certain way. You could have one for Elden Ring the certain way. That sort of customizability on a per game basis. Right. Okay. So, what other buttons am I missing here? Yep. Don't put that grommet in yet, Ian. That's what you're missing. You're missing, this one goes on top. It's good to say, does anyone remember which side the hamburger menu and the two windows menu is? But once again, they did the good thing where they keyed them individually. So they are non-swappable.
Most people don't know that there is a tiny hamburger inside your Xbox controller.
Right, and that one's there. It's got the light pipe involved. And you go right up here. Just like that. Okay. Next step, please. Headphone jack. We need that to be ready to go in. That's going to go in on this side here, touching down. Once we get the the daughter board back in place. So let's start with that. Yes, all the buttons are in place, so we're good there. Hole is lined up with the hole for the stick to go through. Right, and I have to slide this down on its pins. Like, in a lot of ways, it feels like it should be a very robust controller. And in this one tiny way with this GD button, it falls down. All right. And did I get the headphone? No, I did not. That goes over here.
Careful with those rumble.
Oh yeah, no, that's top of mind.
Wait a minute. Is that there's a USB-C port on the bottom and on the top?
No, this port is a Microsoft. It looks like a mini display port or mini HDMI, but it's whatever they use to connect their chat keyboard to the bottom of these things.
Oh. But isn't that supposed to be coming out the bottom of the controller?
It is. Up here, which you can't see, this is the trigger.
Oh, I got
Yeah.
turned around.
I don't blame you. It's hard to keep track of which side is which when the controller looks like this. But we can get that on there.
Wouldn't that rubber piece go in?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that goes in even before the daughter board. Oh boy. Okay, this goes in now. Make sure it's in the right spot for everything just to slide into place. Do a quick pass to make sure nothing else needs to be re-added there. And the button bar, when does that go back on top? Put the bump, yeah, after we get this in place. Okay. Good. Ah! I was using a button that was not fully secured as the grab point. Goodbye. Okay, now we get the daughter board back in there, and then we get everything back for broke. Okay, go in your hole. There we go. That's one rod in place, and that's the only rod necessary for that one. And when we lift, it all sits nice and flat. Yep. Everything looks good there. Let's push. It amuses me that this headphone jack just sits completely loose here in the housing.
It's just sort of clamped in by everything else.
Yeah, it's not screwed in, not clipped in. Just raw headphone jack. Okay, that feels like it's secure-ish. Wait a minute, did I need to remove any? Yes. Dagnabbit, I keep forgetting. I need to reattach the daughter board with screws as well. Which are, let's turn this around. And those are these three tiny friends here.
Now, when you pulled that board out, you had to kind of shimmy it from underneath the shoulder buttons.
Yeah, that was because I didn't actually realize I could push these shoulder buttons as far back as they go.
Ah, okay.
So we're much better here on this time. Right, I keep forgetting as well that I think this particular controller is missing a screw.
Oh.
There are 4 in the instructions, and I remember we only took out 3.
Is that from the previous construction
One of the fixes.
fixes?
I think it might be from the official Xbox or Microsoft fix. TBH. Hey, I found an unused antenna port. Right here on the motherboard. Right next to where another antenna plugs in. So, kind of difficult to see there. I'll see if I can point it out when we.
That's
There we go.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So there's unused antenna port. The other one goes up to here.
Extra.
I'd assume those are for the separate Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz connections. I would assume. Right. If I want to
Extra antenna port is for the listening devices.
I think I'm going to put the final screw here because that's where the most force is going to be applied on the stick through there. Okay, good and tight. Flip that over. I mean, at least now most of the buttons won't fall out. Right, and that takes 2 of its own screws.
I want this to succeed, but also I kind of wanted all the buttons to fall out right as you said that.
Fair. I mean, hey, Paul, there's a lot more to do here in terms of reassembly. We've got time for things to go wrong. Okay, good. Slight magnetism there, just enough to keep me out of trouble. Yeah, these are just such tiny solder points that on these the connectors for the rumble wires. That,
Oh yeah, that would be very tough to get back on.
yeah.
Now, you do have to plug those antennas back in, right?
Yes. Again, thank you for the fantastic reminder. I might have forgotten, but now I don't have to even worry. Okay, there we go. Both of them back on top at least, and they've got these nice little indents there that I can use to keep them in place. Right. This one.
Are those just little bits of plastic to protect them?
These are just a little plastic flaps. And I like using a fingernail or a finger to plug these in myself, just because it gives me I get closer to the metal.
A better idea of how much pressure you're putting on it?
Exactly, yeah. I can feel whether or not they're reacting to or if they're binding in a place. But this one just doesn't want to go in. What's your deal? There we go. Now it's clicked in. And of course, we'll easily find out if it's not working when we go to play a game again. All right, these just slip back into their rotor housings cleanly. Go. There's one. There's two. There we go. Yeah, let's see if we can test it yet. I'm curious at what stage it turns on. It's not all these things are connected yet, but oh, there we go. That seemed to work. Press a button. Okay, buttons still don't work at all. Reload? Yeah, it's not registering anything.
Does your computer acknowledge that something is plugged in?
I don't believe it does yet, actually. It certainly doesn't believe it's a controller yet.
Interesting.
But it has received power, and you can see that I can choose whichever one of those profiles I want.
Oh,
And you can
interesting.
see that the Xbox controller light changes based on the profile. That's just a handy feature. All right. I think now we're ready to.
So maybe there's some chips on the other board that actually does the USB negotiation stuff.
Yeah, or at the very least, it needs. It wants either the power connection or all of the buttons to be present before it'll report. Because we still got those 4 buttons on the back that have not been plugged in. Oh, okay, good. Whew, that's something that's been rattling around in the controller for a while. What fell out of my hand is just a broken clip. There's nothing we can do about that. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Where did it come from, though? Ah, I see. Yeah, that's just on the right-hand side or left-hand side of the controller here. This center clip that's on this side has broken off on this side. Not a problem.
That
means
was before today.
Yes, yeah. What this means is that there won't be anything rattling around in my controller or possibly interfering with the rumble motors.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'd say that's a bonus. All right, let's flippy dippy. Got to make sure that the wiring is working on these. The wire is tight for these controllers or for these triggers, so you got to wrap the wires around this little metal post that is the axis or the axle, I guess, with which it wraps around. I was looking for 2 separate buttons. The buttons are attached to each other. Don't be like Ian and freak out because where are the buttons?
That's why it's a button bar.
Yeah. Okay, so the clip goes over top of the button bar. The button bar goes on next, I believe. You know what? Before we even do that, I am going to connect these things together and see if we can do a test. Because I think that it would behoove us to test early. Test often. Okay, so it's in there now. Now, do you see a controller or computer? Ugh.
Did that actually connect
Yes, it did.
to there?
Okay, so if you want to bring up the laptop here,
Xbox controller?
be gone ad. So we're going to want to test everything. So let's start with the left.
Okay.
Ah, yes. You can remember where these push through to get there. Let's check the other buttons first. Yes, 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 yes. Spin to win. Down, up, right, left. Monitor hamburger. Spin. I mean, click, click is going to work fine. That works.
Right, left, monitor, hamburger, ha!
Okay, I think we're on track. So I'm going to continue to reassemble the button bar top so that we can test said buttons. Because this is part of the reason why it's such a bad design. Is what's actually doing the button pressing. If you can go back to top down here. What's actually pressing the button are just these wings of plastic. Those move their way down through underneath the top bit and under to connect with the button areas. And they click nicely.
It's interesting that they're sort of connected together like that.
Yeah, I'm interested in this.
Does that mean that it seems like that would affect like being able to hit both buttons at the same time, but obviously not.
Yeah, I guess there's enough flex to it. I guess it's the idea is that that center bit there negates the need for any sort of a spring mechanism to pull the top back up. Though it doesn't actually work until you get the clip in place. How does that clip in there? Oh yeah, it goes under there like that. Over top. Okay, there we go. It feels tighter now for some reason. Oh wait, that's because there we go. It was tighter because the triggers were pushing up on the two buttons, and now they click nicely. So let's get back in there. Yep. Put the vibration motor back in its place.
See, the other difference with like a PS4 or PS3 controller is while they have all the same buttons, the triggers on a PS controller are quite different. They're like a lot. They're usually very.
Well, they used to have the rounded down rather than the rounded out.
And they're like the springs on them are very very light. Like I sort of see them as like being more. They tend to be used in a sort of analog fashion more than on Xbox, I think.
And then now with the PS5, you've got the variable resistance on them as well, which is, I think, super cool for a controller. But,
is that something that like a game can control, or is it?
Yeah, no, it's software controlled resistance and feedback. So not only can it control software-wise how far you can pull the trigger back, but also give you resistance as you pull it back.
Oh, that's cool.
Super handy for driving games and.
Yeah, I haven't actually experienced that on a PlayStation controller.
It's unfortunately one of those things that's difficult to find because you've got to get not a first party game, but you've got to find someone willing to put it in their game because it won't go into the Xbox version or the PC version.
Actually, yeah. I on that note, over Christmas, I happened to grab Golf Story.
Ooh, yes.
Super fun little game. And something that I noticed is that especially if you mess up a shot, like if you go into a sand trap or go into the water or whatever, you get like a little like from your controller, which is interesting because the Switch does not have speakers in the controller.
But it has.
But it can play things with the rumble.
Yep.
It uses the motors in the Switch controller to play sounds.
Well, I know you're a fan of Strange Parts and have probably seen the videos of that gentleman turning linear accelerators into speakers.
Yeah.
And those things are essentially what the Switch uses as their HD rumble.
And I mean, and that's not like Golf Story doing something funky. That's actually like ostensibly was like an advertised feature of the HD Rumble.
Yeah.
Not that, but again, as with the PlayStation thing, not many people actually use that function, but it's just like, you're sort of playing along and you're like, I didn't know there was a speaker there.
It was like the fact that the PlayStation controllers themselves have speakers in them, and I was confused when I was wandering through the living room while Corey was playing Astrobot the other day. Like, where is that sound coming from? It's the controller. Ah, that's why the EQ sounds so off.
Yeah, it's fun when they use, like, I've seen games use it for like shooting a bow and arrow. Like the sound of the arrow will sort of start at the controller and then end up in the speakers on the computer.
Yeah,
which is or on the TV, which is kind of cool.
Well, that's, I think, one of the things that they could do with the PS5 triggers with their force feedback is if you are shooting an arrow, potentially you could have it set that the longer you hold it back, you can start feeling vibration and push back against your finger.
Oh, like you get tired or
Yeah.
whatever? Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, to simulate fatigue. I think if you want to come back to, or throw up the controller on the PC again. So here's our left button. And here's our right. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep.
I think the NDI input is actually pretty delayed.
Yeah, there's a
I'm noticing.
huge delay there, but I'll do 5 quick taps and then a hold. Yep, that's a solid button.
And it's not doing the, like, if you sort of tip your hand a little bit, it's not doing that kind of, that thing where it was sort of depending on what angle you were holding it at, it was sort of flickering on and off.
Yeah, no matter where I'm pushing down on this button, it's doing it properly. Well, for now. It is operating as intended for now, and so that gives me at least another year of fun on this controller. So that's.
So I wonder. Yeah, I was saying in chat, like, I wonder, considering this is a known problem with this controller, you know. I'm curious as to whether anybody's actually sort of done a deep dive into, like, why, like, whether it's as simple as, like, the little thing that's hitting the, you know, the little piece of plastic that's hitting the button is, like, not the right, you know, it's hitting it in a bad way, and so it's wearing out it's wearing out that little switch prematurely, and or if it's that the switches were poorly made, or the, you know, what aspect of it is this sort of weak point.
I would be very
causing
curious.
it to wear out.
Because it would be if anyone has contacted Dr. Drang out there, I know at least they do engineering failure breakdowns and every now and then. But I think that's kind of what we'd have to do, is send this switch to someone who researches engineering failures and do a breakdown on the switch to see what actually happened. Because when we brought it out and tested it with the multimeter, it seemed to be fine, but that's pushing it
with your finger.
With a finger, in a.
But maybe the
different way.
angle that the shoulder button pushes it at is not the right angle, or it's not ideal.
No, it's definitely not direct, but it's, I don't know what the ideal angle is because don't have the engineering diagrams behind this. One would hope it was something that they took into account, but I think it was something that they were willing to repair or to extend the warranty for a bit, and then they just decided to not sell them anymore. But let me just finish buttoning this. Oh, no, wait. Screws first. That's right, remember? They don't... you get no free screws with this.
I will say that I did, I had controller drift on my Switch sort of 2 or 3 years after I got it. Far out of warranty, and just send it in, no questions asked. I was also having problems with the battery on one side. That was actually a bigger problem than the controller drift, but they just swapped out the controllers completely. So I was like, okay, cool, no question. Like, it was just like, didn't even need to have, like, the, proof of purchase or whatever on the Switch. They were just like, oh, yep.
we know how long ago these were made.
We've just evaluated that it's better for us to we'll just keep paying for new ones.
Yep, that's.
We're not going to fix the problem. We're just going to keep buying new ones.
Well, unfortunately, I think that's a case where they can't, unless they decided they wanted to start doing a Hall effect as well, which is what I decided was going to be our solution for our Switch.
I mean, that is like one wonders, considering that like the Hall effect mod isn't that expensive, and that's for a consumer level to do it. Presumably, at the industrial sort of mass production level, it wouldn't be that expensive to do.
I mean,
certainly wouldn't be as expensive as all of the replacements they've had to do.
But remember, this is Nintendo, and they've absolutely done the math on what sort of profit they want to get from each of these consoles.
I guess.
Yes. I mean, it just could be as much as they can't get the rate they want from the supplier.
Or maybe even like the quantity.
Yeah. Quantity could be a very good one too.
If everyone, if Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo all switch over to using Hall effect things, maybe there's a bottleneck in the actual manufacturing of those Hall effect controllers.
This is, of course, if you ever wonder why Apple starts making their own X component, it's usually to do with the fact that they either can't get enough of them, or they can't get enough of them at the price they want.
Apple was like horribly traumatized by being connected to Motorola for the
and IBM, yes, God.
for the G
the
level,
the
G
the
processors.
PowerPC processor.
Yeah, the PowerPC processors. That was like that left a generational trauma in Apple's sort of whole being. And even though most of the people who worked at, the high up executives who worked at Apple aren't even there anymore from when that happened, they still have this thing where no, we must never allow that to happen again. We must own the entire product.
Yep. They literally bought Intel's modem department specifically for that reason, because they don't want to have to deal with Qualcomm anymore.
Yeah,
it hasn't worked out for them yet, but it will. They'll get there eventually. Okay, what do we do here? We've buttoned it up. We've cracked it together. We got to do one more test just to make sure everything is as it should be.
So we've got no Xbox controller parts on the table anymore.
Nope. Whew, here we go. A little bit worrying when the website didn't detect immediately. All right, left and click. Right and click, up, down, left, right, monitor hamburger, buttons, triggers, left bumper, and finally, right bumper. Reliable and clicky. That's what we need.
There's that slight delay on the NDIs. You're like, and finally, right bumper.
It feels so bad trying to just demonstrate it to y'all there, but... No, the joysticks aren't perfectly centered. Joysticks are rarely perfectly centered. That's why they all have dead zones usually. But.
Although I'm actually slightly... Could you do that test that you did?
Oh, yeah, the circular one?
Yeah, I'm curious to see whether that has changed at all. I mean, technically, the joysticks didn't really move at all. Like, they were just a piece that came out.
Yeah. Interesting. So, yeah, if I don't do them all the way out, the average error goes at this 30.2, and it goes down as we... slowly rotate across the axes.
Interesting. Yeah, so this is the same thing where it's like, it's sort of more of a rounded rectangle rather than a square, but that's neat.
The other one is just as... less error on that one for some reason, but...
It would be cool if, there's the... I know when you and... Dandy Geek Ben were putting together the arcade cabinet stuff. There's the sort of frame, or the I don't know what it's called, but there's the little piece that goes in under the arcade stick.
The restrictor.
Yeah, the restrictor that tells it whether it can go, 4 ways or 9 ways or whatever. It would be neat if there was a thing that you could attach to the controller to make it do that.
Just 2 ways.
Yeah, just lock it into the restrictor or the gate or whatever to make it so it's like it is locked into a 8-way controller.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they don't have those on most controllers. I was just thinking back to the Nintendo 64 controller with its built-in weird octagonal gate that went all the way down to the bottom.
The Nintendo 64 controller, which could be, yeah. And, I mean, speaking of, we've been talking about controllers and stuff, and especially in the context of Nintendo, they've had a whole different raft of things. I never really played GameCube that much, but I always loved that the GameCube controller looks like they took like one button from every different type of controller and put it on. I mean, from what I understand, everyone quite liked it.
Oh, I still think in terms of just feel in the hand, again, not really, well, it wasn't meant to be a two-stick gaming system because the idea of first-person two-sticking on consoles really wasn't that big at the time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in ergonomics for the type of games you were playing at the time, just having that big green button that you press and win was really good. I remember that's something Miyamoto specifically said. He just wanted to make a game where you press A and win. But yeah, the GameCube controller, that I often think back ergonomically and comfort-wise in hands. It was like God took a shit in your outstretched hands and you just played games. And with that, we're going to say that's going to do it for this episode of Tinker, Tailor, Solder, Fry. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching this week. Reminder, if you like what you see and you aren't already, check out patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. That's the monthly way that you can help us out automatically by becoming a patron there. If you like doing things manually, check out twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun, where you can subscribe to our channel. youtube.com/loadingreadyrun, where you can subscribe to the channel. Store.loadingreadyrun.com, where we have no subscription options available whatsoever, but you can get something nice one time as many times as you want to. So yeah, I guess from myself and from Paul over in tech, we're going to say ever forward. See you in a fortnight. Never in fortnight. Ever forward. Learning out of spite. Good night.